of Lord Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita in this condensed 4 verses. This is called as Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. So who can understand this? What is the perspective of this Krishna's position and how he reciprocates with his devotees is mentioned in these 4 verses. So we'll start with the prayers based on teachings of Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale
Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta
Swamin iti namine
Swamin iti namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Namaste Saraswate Deve
Gauravani Pracharine
Gauravani Pracharine
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi
Paschatya Deshatarine
Paschatya Deshatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda
Srivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
So in the last verse 10.7, Krishna was explaining one word which is very unique to that verse. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mamayo veti tattvata. So avikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. So etam vibhutim yogam cha. So one who understands all my opulences, potencies, mamayo veti tattvataha. In truth, one who knows about me. Yo avikalpena yogena engages in avikalpena without any deviation in devotional service, unalloyed devotional service. Then yujyate na atra samshaya. And there is no doubt, and he will achieve the Lord. So that word tattvataha, in truth, is very important. So what is the truth? What is the glories of the Lord is explained in these 4 verses. All of you can recite this verse, 8th verse. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha.
Aham sarvasya prabhava.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
So Krishna is saying, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Matta sarvam pravartate. From me, everything is emanating. Iti matva bhajante mam. Those who know me in this perspective, Buddha, he is intelligent. Bhava samanvitaha. He is with great attention, engages bhajanti mam in my devotional service. So this is what is mentioned. I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Everything emanates from me. Matta sarvam pravartate. The wise Buddha, who knows this, iti matva, perfectly engaged in my devotional service, bhajante mam, and worships me with all their hearts. Bhava samanvita. So what happens when one studies the Vedas perfectly? So a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information about authorities, who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is origin of everything, in both the material and spiritual worlds. And the result would be he can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. So they become very fixed up. Their attachment to Krishna is, that bondage is strengthened. It is fully assured. So this is the speciality when one learns from proper authority. Now, how can one become a truly learned man, Buddha? So Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything, because everything is emanating from him. Krishna is the source of everything. So in comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Because we are trying to estimate the complete, which is impossible for us. And if we come to any conclusion with our limited understanding, that's why we are called as fools. So a Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita. Before Prabhupada had actually written Bhagavad Gita, there were more than 700 editions commented on Bhagavad Gita. But none of them were capable enough to transform a personality. Before Prabhupada, many people had worked on Bhagavad Gita, but many people, even though they had studied Bhagavad Gita, it could not impact a transformation in them. So that is the specialty of Prabhupada, because he gave Bhagavad Gita as it is. So to proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness is very important. So that commitment, determination, and firmness, study in the process is very important. So in one lecture, Prabhupada says, the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So this is the actual essence of Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Sarvam means including Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Sarvam, matta sarvam pravartate. Iti matva. One who understands this, bhajante. So just this bhajana is for whom? Iti matva. When one understands that Krishna is the origin of everything, even the original demigods, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, when one understands perfectly this thing, then his bhajana is perfect. So everything means the universe also. Whatever you can imagine comes from within the category of everything. So if Krishna is the source of everything, then if you love Krishna, you love the universe. Actually, that is so. If you love your father, then you love your brother. If you love your country, then you love your countrymen. So the love begins from the origin. If you love your body, then you love your finger. Iti matva bhajante ma. One who has understood this fact scientifically, that God is the origin of all emanations, then by loving God, you love everything. And bhava samanvita, Buddha, one must be very well versed at the same time, completely in spiritual emotion. This is bhava. This bhava is the highest, very high platform for coming to the perfection of life. Bhava means transcendental emotion. A similar verse in Bhagavatam, it says, Atma mayam samavishya soham gunamayim dvija srujan rakshan haran vishwam dhadre samjnan kriyochita. The Lord was explaining to Daksha. He is saying, Dvija, oh my dear Brahmana, Daksha, I am the original personality of Godhead. But in order to create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation, Srujan Rakshan Haran Vishwam, I act through my material energy, Atma Mayam Samavishya. And according to the different grades of activity, my representations are differently named. Dadare Samyam Kriya Uchitam. According to grades of activity, Kriya Uchitam, Dadare Samyam, my representations are differently named. So the Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator. This part has been accepted by all acharyas and all the shastras. The same thing Krishna is mentioning here. So this was one particular incident by one of the god brothers of Prabhupada. He was a German personality, a scholar, scientist. His name was E.G. Schlutz. So when he came to India in early 1930s, he was assisted by one of his friends. He later on became known as Sadananda Das, and ever since he was known by that name. So he took initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Actually, they came to India for looking for the absolute truth, supreme truth in life. So they were visiting various temples and seeing different Lord deities on the altars. This professor, not knowing anything about Hinduism, he concluded, simply by seeing the murtis in various temples, he said, Krishna must be the supreme of all these gods. Then how could he conclude this? He explained later, when I saw these different devatas, they were always doing something. Someone was in meditation, someone else is holding some weapon, a sword or a trident. They are all engaged in different activities, different kinds of work. They were all serving someone higher, or they were aspiring for something higher through meditation or something else. This was clearly visible from their activities. But when I saw Radha and Krishna, I saw these two have nothing to do but enjoy themselves. Krishna is just playing on the flute, Radharani is standing by his side, and they were smiling very happy. So he came to the conclusion that Radha and Krishna must be supreme because they have nothing to do but enjoy. The Westerner could come to this conclusion just by seeing the personalities. Somebody is very ferocious, somebody is very angry, somebody is killing somebody. That all that emotions all together, only Radha and Krishna were very smiling. So in that way, he came to this conclusion, Krishna should be the supreme personality of Godhead, and he took initiation from Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the simple angle of understanding the truth for a common man by seeing observing the deities is also a great like realization. Now, how do devotees understand about the Lord? Where do they get that inspiration about the Lord? Is explained in the next verse. All of you can recite this verse. Machitta madgata prana.
Machitta madgata prana.
Bodhayanta parasparam.
Bodhayanta paraspara.
Katayantascha mam nityam.
Katayantascha mam nityam.
Tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
Tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
Machitta madgata prana.
Machitta madgata prana.
Bodhayanta parasparam.
Bodhayanta parasparam.
Katayantascha mam nityam.
Katayantascha mam nityam.
Tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
Tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
So Krishna is explaining about the nature of his devotees. Machittaha, whose minds are fully engaged in the Lord. Madgatah pranaha, their lives are completely devoted to the service of Krishna. Bodhayantaha parasparam, they preach among themselves. Katayantascha mam nityam, when somebody else is preaching, they hear. Katayantaha, talking. In this way, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They are very pleased and they enjoy this transcendental bliss. So, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Machittaha. Their lives are surrendered to me. Madgatah prana. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Enlightening one another and conversing about me. Bodhayanta parasparam katayantasya mam nitya. So what are the characteristics of the pure devotees? They engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of the Lord. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. And they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself in the initial stage. And the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of Godhead. Because Krishna said, Susukum kartum avyayam. You enjoy while engaging in my devotion service. And when you know about Krishna, you will be having the complete peacefulness. So that peace and happiness are automatically available for devotees by engaging in devotional service and by understanding the Krishna's position. So all these technical details are elaborated in Bhagavatam. So what does Bhagavatam contain? So there is nothing about material activities, sense gratification or liberation. Dharma projita kaitava atro paramo nirmatsaranam satam. This is all the cheating types of religion are completely discarded out of Bhagavatam. And Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Lord and his devotees are fully described. So, Śrīmad means all opulent, and Bhagavatam means which glorifies about the Lord. So, the all opulent scripture that glorifies about the Lord and his devotees is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So, from that, what we to understand, how we can understand, a rare fortune to get this seed. So innumerable living entities are traveling all over the universe. Ei rupe brahmana brahmite kona bhagyavanji. So few fortunate ones meet a pure devotee and get a chance to practice devotion service. And watering of the seed. So first thing is first to get that seed. Next you have to water the seed. Shravana Kirtana Jale, by Shravana chanting and Kirtana by hearing. Shravana means hearing and chanting. Shravana Kirtana by hearing and chanting of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it is like watering of the seed. So when the seed is sown and the water is applied to it, the seed fructifies and grows. It penetrates the covering of the material universe and reaches the Brahma Jyoti and grows more. And its final destination is it reaches the highest planet Goloka Vrindavana and takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord and rests there. Then gradually it bears fruit and flowers and watering process goes on. Finally, it comes to the stage of full absorption. Thus, one becomes completely fully absorbed in love of God. In such stage, he cannot live a moment without the Lord. At this stage, devotee attains transcendental qualities, being in contact with the Lord. Just like a fish cannot live without water, a devotee cannot live without the association of the Lord. So, Ei Rupe Brahmana Brahmate Kona Bhagyavanji Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Pich. Explanation of that shloka is based on these technical details. So then, why is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam very dear to devotees? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana Mamalam Yat Vaishnavanam Priyam. The shloka glorifies Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Because it is full of such narrations about the relationship between the Lord and his devotees. The realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures. So one more place also it says, Krishna Tulya Bhagavata. Krishna and Bhagavata are both are same because Lord Krishna and Bhagavata are non-different. And it also says this analogy of Bhakti Lata, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares transcendental devotional service to sowing of a seed in the heart of a living entity. So what are the method, rules and regulations? Everything has an original cause or seed. For any program, plan, idea or device, there is first of all the contemplation of the plan that is called as bija or the seed. The rules, methods and regulations by which one is perfectly trained in devotional service constitute the Bhakti Lata Bija or the seed of devotional service. But if one stops, one certainly falls down. It is not that at a certain stage one can stop chanting and hearing and become a mature devotee. If one stops, one certainly falls down from devotional service. If one gives up that process, it is due to an offense. This is described in the following verses. So this is in context, Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu and Durvasa Muni. He says, Sadhavo Hrudayam Mahyam, Sadhunam Hrudayam Tuham, Madanya Tena Jananti, Naham Tebyo Managam. So Sadhavo Hrudayam Mahyam, the pure devotees are always within my heart. Sadhunam Hrudayam Tuham, and I am always within the heart of the pure devotees. Madanya Tena Jananti, my devotees do not know anything beyond me. Naham Tebyo Managapi, I do not know anyone else beyond them. That is quoted from Bhagavatam. Now, if this devotional service one engages sincerely and seriously, how Lord reciprocates with the devotee is explained in the next verse. All of you can recite this verse. Tesham satata yuktanam.
Tesham satata yuktanam.
Bhajatam priti purvakam.
Bhajatam priti purvakam.
Dadhami buddhi yogam tam.
Dadhami buddhi yogam tam.
Yena mam upayantite.
Yena mam upayantite.
Tesham satata yuktanam.
Tesham satata yuktanam.
Bhajatam priti purvakam.
Bhajatam priti purvakam.
dadhami buddhi yogam tam
dadhami buddhi yogam tam
yena mam upayantite.
yena mam upayantite.
So tesham satata yuktanam, for those who are always engaged in my devotional service, bhajatam, in devotional service, priti purvakam, out of love and affection, dadami buddhi yogam tam, I give them the intelligence, enamam upayantite, by which one can reach me. So to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, I give the understanding, dadami buddhi yogam tam, by which they can come to me, enamam upayantite. So what is this buddhi yoga? So buddhi yoga is action in Krishna consciousness, and it is the highest intelligence. Generally, buddhi means intelligence and yoga means activities. Mystic activities are mystic elevation. So when one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes full shelter of Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called as buddhi yoga. It is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. So what are important for this process? So people do not know this, therefore association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are very important for one to advance in spiritual life. So what is the ultimate process, ultimate goal of this process? The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. The target is fixed, then slowly or steadily we will be able to reach the target. So what are the various steps of yoga on the process? Karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. So karma yoga means when a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to fruits of activities, karma phala, he is said to be a karma yogi. When he knows the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations in understanding about Krishna, he is known as a jnana yogi. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is a complete process. And this is the highest perfectional stage of life, bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga. What if a person is not intelligent? So a person may have bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization. But if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him that instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. So that's why the Lord as Paramatma in the heart, he reciprocates. So what is the qualification for the Lord to reciprocate? The qualification is a person always engage in Krishna consciousness with love and devotion and render all kinds of services. Bhajatam priti purvakam. With love and devotion. Bhajatam, engage in devotional service. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. See, if one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. So it is Lord's prerogative. See, in one lecture, Prabhupada says, Priti Purvakam, with love. Not only that intelligent, officially you love, then he will talk with you. Buddhi yogam dadamitam. He will give you intelligence. He will talk with you. Because he is within your heart. Simply you have to qualify yourself to talk with Krishna. Then Krishna is not far away. He is within your heart. Otherwise, he is very, very far away. If you want to understand by your intelligence, what intelligence have you got? You have to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by your service. And then he will reveal himself. Here I am. What do you want? This is the process. In one more place also it says, which is more important, to go back to Godhead or to spread Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada. One who is preaching Krishna consciousness is already back to Godhead. Iha yasa harer dasi. Preacher means he has engaged his body, mind and speech only to glorify the Lord. So he is Jivan Mukta. He is already liberated. So he is already with Krishna. Krishna is talking with him. Buddhi yogam dadami. One who is actually a preacher, engaged in Krishna's glorification, is already in Vaikuntha. So one more place it says. This verse clearly states how Govinda Deva instructs his bona fide devotee. The Lord declares by enlightenment in theistic knowledge, he awards attachment for him to those who constantly engage in his transcendental loving service. This awakening of divine consciousness enthralls a devotee who thus relishes his eternal transcendental melody. Such an awakening is awarded only to those convinced by devotional service about the transcendental nature of the personality of God. They know that the supreme truth, all spiritual, all powerful person is one without a second and has fully transcendental senses. He is the fountainhead of all emanations. Such pure devotees, always merged in knowledge of Krishna and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, exchange thoughts and realizations as great scientists exchange their views and discuss the results of their research in scientific academies. Such exchange of thoughts in regard to Krishna give pleasure to the Lord, who therefore favors such devotees with all enlightenment. So this is like how scientists exchange their information on their new subject, whatever they are exploring or whatever their findings are, their realizations are. So devotees also try to understand, they try to exchange information, they try to increase their realization when they are in a group, they discuss about this bodhayantaha, katayantaha. In that way, Lord becomes satisfied. So like there is one sloka, Naham tishtami vaikunte, Naham yoginam hrudiyeshuva, Yatra gayanti madbhaktaha, Tatra tishtami narada. So I am not there in Vaikunta, I am not there in the hearts of the yogis. Where my devotees chant and discuss my glories, I personally present them. The same concept has been explained in the previous thing. So in the next place it says, Preeti Purvakam, Preeti with love. When you work for Krishna with love and enthusiasm, that is your Krishna conscious life. If you think it is hackneyed, it is troublesome, but what can I do? These people ask me to do it, I have to do it. That is not Krishna consciousness. You have to do it voluntarily and with great pleasure. So one more place in Bhagavatam it says, Sakshat Bhagavatoktena Guruna Harina Nrupa Vishuddha Jnana Deepena Spurata Vishwatomukam. So there was one king by name Malayadvaja. He attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state, Sakshat Bhagavat Ukte, he was directly instructed by the Supreme Lord in the form of Guruna Harina. As a spiritual master, the Supreme Lord Harina to the Nrupa, to the king, Sakshat Bhagavatoktena, Lord spoke to him. Vishuddha Jnana Deepena, by such enlightenment, transcendental knowledge, Spurata Vishwatomukam, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. So understanding about the Lord from all angles of vision is very important. So there were two devotees by name Anil and Sunil. They were both friends. So that actually both of them were friends, not devotees. Anil was a great devotee. He believed in the Lord. But Sunil did not do so. Both of them were neighbors. So Anil would wake up early in the morning. He would take his bath and engage in bhakti. He would chant his rounds, worship the deity, and offer naivedya, and he would recite various prayers and all. So, but Sunil would wake up late, and he always used to ridicule Anil for engaging in his bhakti and sentimentalism, he used to say. So once they were traveling through a forest, so Anil, while he was traveling, he screamed with a pain. A thorn has pierced his foot. So while Anil was in pain, Sunil burst into laughter and said, "You have been worshipping Lord every day, and what you get in is a thorn in your foot." Then later, when Sunil was passing away, he tapped on a stone and he fell down, and wherever he fell down, he asked Anil to dig there. There was gold coins. So he said, "See, I do not do any worship, but see, wherever I fall down, you find gold there. And wherever you fall down, you get thorns there." He was ridiculing him the entire path. So later, Anil became little disturbed. He went and narrated the incident to his spiritual master. So his spiritual master heard him with a smile. Then Sunil asked him why he was smiling. So the Guru replied, "Anil, you are destined to die at that moment when the thorn entered your foot. But because you have been chanting the holy name of the Lord and engaging in his devotional service, The pain of death simply turned into a thorn. The Lord had reduced your karma and he saved you. The other person, Sunil, is enjoying his karma. This life he is enjoying all the activities, but because of his arrogance and Vaishnava Aparadha, very soon he is going to degrade into lower forms of life and he is going to suffer. So, see how Lord takes care of his devotees. We have to be grateful for this purpose, because the Lord is personally always supporting his devotees. He is there for them at all times and all circumstances. Then further, how Lord supports the devotees, because he said, I will give them the intelligence. So how he gives them the intelligence is explained in this verse. All of you can recite. Tesham evanu kampartam.
Tesham evanku kampartam.
Aham ajnanajam tamaha.
Aham ajnanajam tamaha.
Nashayami atma bhavasto.
Nashayami atma bhavastu.
Jnana deepena bhashvata.
Jnana deepena bhashvata.
Tesham evanu kampartam.
Tesham evanu kampartam.
Aham ajnanajam tamaha.
Aham ajnanajam tamaha.
Nashayami atma bhavasto.
Nashayami atma bhavastu.
Jnana deepena bhashvata.
Jnana deepena bhashvata.
So Krishna is saying, Tesham eva anukampartam. I am completely considerate for them, anukampartam, compassionate upon them. Aham ajnanajam tamaha, for those who are engrossed in this darkness of this material world. Nashayami atma bhavastaha, I destroy the darkness by the light of knowledge. Jnana deepena. In that way, Krishna is saying, out of compassion for them, Tesham evanu kampartam, dwelling in their hearts, atma bhavastaha, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge, jnana deepena, the darkness born of ignorance, ajnanajam tamaha. So what do philosophers criticize devotees? The philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. One example is Prakashananda. He derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist, for chanting and dancing like a madman in the streets. But what is the actual position of a devotee? They are very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. Even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, he is sincere in his devotion service. He is helped by Krishna within his heart. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. But the modern day philosopher think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. But for those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they may not have sufficient education and without sufficient knowledge of Vedic principles, the Lord will help them and inspire them from within. So what is Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna about understanding the absolute truth? The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding absolute truth simply by speculating. The supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Only by bhakti, if Krishna is pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he will be revealed to himself. He will be revealed within the heart of the devotee. The analogy, pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, just like the sun that dissipates the darkness of ignorance. So how can the contamination from the heart be cleansed? The whole idea in bhakti is to cleanse our heart. So where does this contamination coming from? Due to contamination of material association from many millions of anadi karma phale, padi bhavarnava jale. One's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism because of too much sangha. It's not satsanga, maya sangha. But when engages in bhakti, constantly chanting the holy name, the dust quickly clears. Then one becomes elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chanting and by devotional service and not by mental speculation or argument. So what is the essence of Gita's teachings? Pure devotees do not have to worry about the necessities of life, because yoga kshemam aspect has been assured by the Lord. He need not be anxious, because when he removes darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, Lord will assure, take care of them, because if he is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. And by studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a completely surrendered soul to the Lord and engage in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of material endeavors. In one lecture, Prabhupada says, just like Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, there is no difference. Bhagavad Gita is also Krishna. Otherwise, why this book is worshipped so long, for long time, since 5,000 years, unless Bhagavad Gita is Krishna? There are so many literatures, books are published nowadays. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, finished. Nobody cares for it. Nobody reads. Any literature you take in the history of the world, no literature can exist for 5,000 years, repeatedly being read by many, many scholars, religionists and philosophers. Why? Because it is Krishna. There is no difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavan. Shabda Brahma. So Bhagavad Gita should not be taken as an ordinary literature, that one can comment on it by so-called ABCD knowledge. No, that is not possible. The fools and rascals, they try to comment on Bhagavad Gita by their ABCD scholarship. That is not possible. It is Shabda Brahma. It will be revealed to the person who has devotion to Krishna. So this is one sloka in Gajendra's prayers. He says, Gunarani Channa Chidushmapaya Takshobha Vishpurjita Manasaya Naishkarmya Bhavena Vivarjitagama Swayam Prakashaya Namaskaro. Says Gunarani Channa Chidushmapaya. Gunarani, as a fire in Arani wood, which is covered, Channa. Chid Ushmapaya, you and your unlimited knowledge, Takshobha Vishpurjita Manasaya, are covered by material modes of nature. Your mind is not attentive to the activities of the modes of nature. Those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge are not subjected to regulated principles. Naishkarmya Bhavena Vivarjita Agama. Directed in the Vedic literatures, Vivarjita Agama. Because such advanced souls are transcendental, you personally appear in their pure mind, Swayam Prakashaya. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Namaskaromi. So there was one Brahmana in Srirangam who used to recite every day Bhagavad Gita. Because he was ordered by his guru to recite Bhagavad Gita, so he used to endeavor to study Bhagavad Gita. But since he was not fully educated, he was partially an illiterate person. He did not know neither Sanskrit nor proper pronunciation. So people in the neighborhood, they knew that this man is not a proper educated man and he is reading Bhagavad Gita. So he used to open Bhagavad Gita and the people used to come and joke. My dear sir, how are you reading Bhagavad Gita? So he could understand this man is joking because I am not an educated man. So one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also passing by that way. When he saw the Brahmana studying Bhagavad Gita, he became very happy and he went to him and he wanted to understand, how are you reading Bhagavad Gita? So that Brahmana could understand he is a devotee. So he asked him, my dear sir, how are you reading? This man is not joking. Sir, I am reading Bhagavad Gita. I am trying to read Bhagavad Gita. But since I am not properly educated, but my Guru Maharaj ordered me, you must read 18 chapters daily. Since I have no knowledge, I cannot read properly. But since my Guru Maharaj said, I am trying to carry out the order, opening the pages, that's all. I do not know how to read it. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are crying. Sometimes I see. He said, yes, I am crying. How are you crying if you cannot read? He said, no, because when I take this Bhagavad Gita book, I see one picture. That Krishna is so kind that he has taken the chariot driver position, Ratha Sarathi of Arjuna. He became a servant of his devotee. So Krishna is so kind that he can accept the position of servant because Arjuna was ordering, Ratam Stapayame Achyuta, keep my chariot there. And Krishna was serving him. So Krishna is so kind. So when I see this picture within my mind, I start crying. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced him and he said, you are reading of Bhagavad Gita without any education, and your reading is perfect. So he was seeing the picture because he was a lover of Krishna. It doesn't matter. He could read the shlokas or not, but he was absorbed in the love of Krishna. He was seeing Krishna was sitting there and he was driving the chariot of Arjuna. So that is required, not that education. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Lord is understood only by devotion service. Lord could be understood by bhakti, not by any other process. So any questions, please?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Can I get this story, Prabhuji, so that I can read?
Which one?
The last one. I mean, any.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is quoted. You can say Brahmana and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the net.
Okay, Prabhu, that's.
You'll get that complete perspective.
Okay. And one more question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I start reading all this literature Prabhupada gave. So after some time, I forget. So how to remember all the time? Whenever there is a situation to remember it, I forget and wanted to refer again, go to that particular book and refer. Every time it is happening. Is it a regular practice or what?
See, one thing is we cannot control the knowledge. Paramatma is in control of what we are supposed to remember and what we are supposed to forget. So if we want to increase our understanding and increase our knowledge, we should pray to Paramatma. You give the intelligence by which I can remember you at all times and all circumstances.
Okay.
That is a simple point. And one more thing, if you want to understand and you wanted to practice it, you should know the perspective of how to read the subject in a different style. Like for example, we do so many activities in a day. Do we remember everything?
No.
Something special, do you remember?
Yes, priorities.
Yeah. So if you want to make like as a regular reading, if you do, you'll not be able to remember them. You have to make it like something special. You work for it, you earn it.
Okay.
So we have to read in such a way that it becomes a special item so that we'll be able to remember that for a long time.
Okay.
Then thank you very much. We'll meet next week.
Okay.
And we'll continue with this Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Next.